So, Sony released a new camera. So Sony last night announced the new camera of 2017, the Sony A7RIII. Of course, this is the successor to this Sony A7RIII. It's got a lot of people excited. It's got some really cool specs. I'm going to go ahead and read them out to you, and really just give you my thoughts. You know, is this a camera that I would be interested in? And right off the bat, I'll go ahead and just let you know that it is. You know, I might just be a little bit hesitant when it comes to the battery life. Because I don't like changing batteries. That's why I like my DSLRs. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into it, and then I'll give you my overall thoughts. So, it's gonna boast a 42 megapixel sensor, which is up there on par with the Nikon D850 and the Canon 5DR series. It's gonna be a back illuminated full frame Exmor R CMOS sensor, which is pretty cool. And then it's also going to be 10 frames a second. It's going to shoot with full autofocus tracking. It's going to be able to shoot up to 76 JPEGs and 28 uncompressed RAW files. And the new processing engine is going to make it 1.8 times faster than the Sony A7RIII, which is good because if you're coming from the A7RIII, you're going to be dealing with a faster camera, and that is better and that is good for everyone. The ISO is also going to be from 100 to 32,000 natively. Of course, it's going to be expandable, I believe, to 102,000 ISO, which if you're shooting that high, I mean, that's pretty, you know, why would you do that? But 32,000 is not bad for a camera of 42 megapixels. We're just going to have to see what the results are from tests and what DxOMark puts out, so that way we can see what we're working with, right? It's going to have 15 stops of dynamic range at lower ISOs. Now, if you know me, I am really big on dynamic range because I like my my photos to look very natural, very organic, and just having that big dynamic range really helps to do that. Whenever you're working with cameras like with an iPhone or cameras that don't have a lot of dynamic range, you can't really work a lot with it in Lightroom or in post, and it's going to really help that we have that 15 stops of dynamic range. It's so crazy how the camera technology has gone in just a few years. It's going to have 5.5 stops of in-camera 5-axis image stabilization. Sorry if that was all crazy. I'll put it up here so that way you know what I'm saying. And according to them, it's the world's highest ever for an image stabilization system in a full-frame camera. If you shot with the previous few Sony cameras, you've probably experienced their in-camera stabilization, which is really great. I know it can really just take chunks out of your battery life, but if you're shooting video, it's really helpful for whenever you have primes that don't have any IS on them, or if you're just shooting in low light and you're shooting at night downtown and you're not really shooting a lot of motion. The focus system is going to have 399 phase detection points that cover 68% of the image area and 425 contrast autofocus points, which is a lot, right, for a camera. But these mirrorless cameras have just been, throwing out these really great autofocus systems. I haven't really, fully trusted the autofocus of Sony cameras, especially in low light. But the Sony A9 really got me excited because I feel like it was Sony's really their first real attempt at hitting the wedding photographers and the sports photographers of the photography industry. I'm not saying that Sony cameras are bad at autofocusing. I haven't really fully trusted them because of just having experience with DSLRs and the autofocusing system in DSLRs in low light, which I need as a wedding photographer. It's going to have what they're calling an OLED True Finder viewfinder that has 3.686 million dots, which is absurd because the LCD on the back only has 1.4 million dots. So when you're going to be looking in the viewfinder, you're going to be having a lot more resolution than you are the LCD, which makes sense because you're putting the viewfinder up to your face, and the LCD, you're looking at it from a distance. And the cool thing about the viewfinder is that you're going to be able to toggle it between 60 frames a second and 120 frames a second. So if you are really, if you're coming from a DSLR, I'm assuming that's going to really help you make that good transition. And I've heard a lot of good things about the viewfinders in Sony cameras lately. So hopefully this will not be a disappointment, and I'm sure it won't be. It's gonna shoot 4K, of course. It's gonna be 4K across the full width of the full frame image sensor, which is really exciting because of course, people were disappointed with the Canon 5D Mark IV, and you can only shoot 4K at like a 1.7 crop factor, which is absurd because people who buy DSLRs like the width of the full frame sensor, because it gives you that bokeh, and it gives you you're able to work with your lenses a lot better because it's a true representation of what the lens gives you. So a 50 millimeter lens is going to be, you're going to get a 50 millimeter image in video, and so whenever you start cropping it to 1.7 or 1.5, it really defeats the purpose. And well, speaking of cropping, you're going to also be able to shoot in Super 35 millimeter, and it's going to give you a 5K worth of data. It's going to give you 5K worth of data, and it's going to oversample that to a 4K image. So that's going to be really great if you really want to get that crisp look. And of course, Super 35 millimeter is like the standard of what a lot of cinema grade cameras are shooting with. But again, so a lot of people like the full frame image sensor. That's just going to be something that you're going to have to decide what you like and how you want to shoot. And it's also going to include a hybrid log gamma. I have not tried that out, so I'm super excited to see what that's like. And it's going to come with S-Log2 and S-Log3. You're going to get full HD recording at 120 frames a second with up to 100 megabits a second. So, with all that being said, I am very excited for this camera. As excited as I was for the Nikon D850, and quite honestly, every year that Sony releases a new camera, it gets me that much more excited, and makes it tempts me that much more to switch over to Sony. I haven't yet, only because I love the battery life of my DSLRs. They last you a good 8 hours when you're shooting photos, and a good 6 when you're doing video. And I really like the natural feeling of shooting with an optical viewfinder. That's just my opinion. But of course, you may not think the same way. You may love the viewfinders that Sony has. And so I want to know what you think. Is this a camera that you're gonna get? Is this something that you're gonna just put a down payment on and take out a second mortgage so that way you can buy? It's not that expensive. I believe it's releasing at $32,000, which is $100 less than the Nikon D850 and $200 less than the Canon 5D Mark IV. So let me know what you guys think. I think this is a really great camera. I think a lot of people are going to benefit from the specs of this camera. And whenever a camera is released with these kind of specs, it just makes everybody up their game. And overall, that's just better for us as photographers, right? So again, let me know what your opinion is down below. I'll leave a link down to the blog with all of the specs, so that way you can read. And catch you guys in the next one. I'll see you later.